welcome back to another episode of The Natty Teacher. I'm, of course, your host, The Natty Teacher. There's the Natty cat, my cat Annie, as she is probably going to walk right in front of the phone right now. Hi, sweetheart. Now, today, our video topic is one that is controversial, but not really. Now, remember, I have a massive disclaimer here. I am not a doctor. I am not a nutritionist. I am not a dietitian. I'm just a guy who has been slanging and banging the iron now for over a decade. I love it. I enjoy it. And along with that has come some relatively real-world experience that I can apply, and that's why I started the channel, to share it with anybody who wants to see it. Share it with the world. Okay. Now, today's topic is protein intake. How much protein should you be eating? And let me just answer right off the bat. I'll give you the short answer right away, and then we will here, hold on, look at this pretty kitty. Yeah, come here. Hey, look. Yeah, that baby. Yeah, she's adorable. But I'll give you the short answer right away. Okay, short answer is well, however much your body can process efficiently and utilize for growth without causing any sort of negative reaction. That's the short answer. That's the best way I can word that as quickly as possible. But let's dive into it a little bit with some recommendations, where to start, and kind of what you can do. I'm going to set her down here. There we go. And what you can do to get started. Okay. Now, if you were to go online, most people would tell you, or not most, but one of the more common answers to how much protein you should be consuming here. We're going to go by pounds here, so sorry for our kilogram folks. You will have to do some conversions here if you want. Hopefully this still is applicable for you, but regardless, most people will say somewhere between 0.8 and roughly 1 gram of protein per pound of body weight. So let's give it a round number here. Let's say that you're 200 pounds, okay? That means you would want to consume right around 200 grams of protein, a little bit less even, potentially. I think that recommendation is fine to work with. I think that that's a great starting point. There are a lot of, I've noticed a pretty, not a ton, I don't want to say a lot of, but there are some bodybuilders in which I follow on social media, things like that, that have switched to like a massive amount of carbohydrates and relatively medium amount of fats, and done more like lower-ish protein, so staying at a gram or even sometimes below a gram, even full-blown off-season. When the growth period is there, they're mainly fueling growth through, that excess of carbohydrates. Obviously, if they're enhanced, they're, utilizing different enhancements and things like that to help with that growth as well. But I have seen, not a trend, but I have seen some bodybuilders that stay below a gram, even, or a gram or below, okay? I would say on the flip side, and again, this is all just opinion and thing, and these people I follow. Again, so you got to remember that obviously your social media, the circles in which you are in, is going to kind of define your mindset, for a lack of better terms, okay? So the majority of these circles that I am a part of in social media and in the bodybuilding fitness communities that I partake in, usually the recommendation is a little bit higher. I would say more gravitating closer to that 1.2 to 1.5 grams of protein per pound of body weight. So let's put that into perspective. If you are 200 pounds, we'll use that as our round number today, and you were to consume roughly 1.2, 1.25 grams of protein per pound of body weight, that means you'd be eating 250 grams of protein per day, okay? If you were eating 1.5 grams of protein per pound of body weight, you would be consuming 300 grams of protein. So you're 200 pounds, you're consuming roughly 300 grams of protein, okay? Now, again, so let's broaden the spectrum here. We'd say on the low end, and I'd say definitely low end, my opinion though, okay? 0.8 to a gram of protein per pound of body weight should be like the starting point. See how your body responds to it, kind of thing, okay? I have heard, there's, if you're familiar with bodybuilding coach / legend at this point, Milos Sarcev, talks about consuming sometimes even upwards of 2 grams of protein per pound of body weight. For me, I'm just a little over 200 pounds right now, and Still sitting in that, kind of fluctuating between that, I believe roughly 205 to 210 range right now. I don't know if I can get on board with that. That means I'd be consuming roughly 410 plus grams of protein per day. I think that my stomach would be, and not even just my stomach, but just my digestion in general would be very negative at that point for sure. So here's kind of the advice. We're going to keep this video a little short. It's really late. I apologize for the super late upload. My wife and I just had a super just jam-packed busy Saturday, which usually we don't have a ton going on. But today was one of those, it was an exception. Today we were kind of just go from right, very shortly after we woke up till about 15 minutes ago. So, but I still said I'd post a video a day. So here we are. Okay, this was another one from the Natty Notebook that I'm crossing off. So here's my general recommendation. Again, I would recommend a gram at the low end. So if you're 200 pounds, start at 200 grams of protein, see how it works, see how it digests, run that for a couple of weeks. Again, I feel like people try to quit on things too quickly. When you're adding in food, let's say that you're really getting into working out and you are, trying to get back on track, cleaning up your diet, whatever, and you're tracking your food, what have you. So you haven't really been consistently tracking. Upping your protein by quite a bit if you were lacking in that department definitely can be a shock to your system. So if you're eating, let's say, 150 grams of protein, and now all of a sudden you, on a daily basis, and now it's like, okay, I got to bump this to 200. It's not a ginormous jump, but it will be noticeable. So let it ride for a couple weeks, at least a week, 1 to 2 weeks. I usually say is the rule of thumb. You don't got to let it ride for 6 months. You know what I mean? Give it a week or two. Your body will become acclimated to it. See how it works, and you can go from there. And if you can, go up a little bit from there, go for it. If you don't want to, and you're noticing great progress, then don't. People overcomplicate this stuff. Bodybuilding, again, I've said this in some of my videos before, it is a marathon, not a sprint. And experimentation is a massive, massive part of bodybuilding. If you don't have the patience to try things, I think that really will bode negatively for you in the future, for sure. You need to have that patience. Don't just try something for a day and be like, oh, that digested really well. I was eating 200 grams of protein. Oh, let me eat, 350. Relax. Relax and go from there. Okay. Now for me, okay, I have to be honest here. I got to be transparent. And this is what works for me currently. You got to remember, I've been really training and eating specifically for bodybuilding probably now about 6 years out of the 11 years that I've trained. The first 5 were just eat protein bars and sandwiches and just eat and get big. That was it. That was literally it for the first, I would say, 5 to 6 years of my training, close to probably, first 5 or 6 years. The last 5 or 6 years have been when I've actually cleaned everything up. And, it's been for the most part within that 5 to 6 year period, very consistent. And now the past couple of years, especially, year or two, I have been 100% consistent. I don't miss. That's it. It's just as simple as that. Okay. And that's not it's just literally, you have to be. And I have so much more room to grow. So I see the light at the end of the tunnel, but I ain't anywhere near it yet. So regardless, kind of getting off track there, I apologize. But for my protein, again, right now I'm just a little over 200 pounds. And my protein hovers, not even hovers, it is just shy of 300 grams of protein per day. And I'm a big fan of that. I have found that for me, my body has become acclimated to a medium high to high protein diet. I would even argue, definitely, not definitely, but closer to that higher end of protein for sure. My digestion is good. I don't really bloat. I have very much so hand-selected foods that sit well and process well for me, which takes time to find that. So you have to, take your own time with that. But you got to remember this too. Yes, I have a pretty good amount of protein. I have far more carbs, but my fats, more of that low, medium, low amount of fat diet. So there has to be a macronutrient in my opinion. Not has to, but in most cases, there usually is a macronutrient that is going to be quite a bit lower than the other two. That's why in keto, you're going to have protein and fats super high. In a high carb diet, you're probably going to have protein and carbs super high. But usually the consistent theme is the protein is always there. Nobody on earth can argue that protein is the main driver of actual muscle growth and also holding on to muscle, if you're in a prep phase or diet phase or what have you. Okay. If anything, what you'll see a lot of bodybuilders do, especially on the more elite of the bodybuilders, is when they start to drop carbs to kind of, essentially deflate a little bit. So to trim the fat, lose some of the water, inflammation that a lot of carbohydrates can really do, lose a little bit of that fullness, but really start to gain more of that sharpness. One thing you'll notice a lot of them do is actually up the protein in their diet. So it switches a little bit. So they'll drop carbs, we'll say by 100 grams or 50 grams or whatever to start, and then add 10, 20, 30 grams of protein. It's not like you're adding and subtracting the same amounts. It's going to be, something that you have to determine. But regardless, it's a very common thing to do. Okay. So again, to kind of go back full circle here with the recommendations, start at a gram. There's a round number for you. Okay. Definitely be very leery of going to the 2 gram mark. I would say capping it at 1.5 grams is more than enough for 99.9% of people on the planet, not even those who just work out, but literally just on the planet. Of course, there are some genetic anomalies out there, some outliers that honestly, for consistent amounts of growth, probably will need over 1.5 grams of protein per pound of body weight, which is crazy, but it's not impossible. For sure. Definitely not impossible. Again, it's just all anatomical makeup, man. Everybody's different. So that's, again, kind of the gist of this video in long form here. You got to find out for yourself. Okay, work with a coach, work with a nutritionist, dietitian, anything like that. Of course, 10 out of 10, I would always recommend that. But if you're going to go out and do this on your own, even if you're working with a dietitian or nutritionist, they're still going to start you on some sort of base plan that then you will expand upon from there based on results. Okay, so you got to start somewhere, whether you're working with somebody or you're just on your own. You got to start somewhere to find out. Okay, obviously the cleaner the protein sources, the better. Okay, now regardless, have fun with it. Eat clean, eat big, but not so bad to where your digestion gets thrown off. And that's kind of where we'll end this video with just one last little topic here. One of the huge indicators of if your diet is, sorry about that, in the right spot or not is how you actually feel and how you perform. Okay, let's give you a scenario. Let's say you're 200 pounds, you eat 200 grams of protein currently, and you jump to 300. Okay, and you go to the gym the next day after a full day of eating that close to 300 grams of protein for the first time, and you go to the gym the next day and you feel phenomenal. Energy levels are through the roof. You feel fuller. You feel like your pumps are better. Whatever. Clearly, what you have done is a good thing. On the flip side, let's say you're that same 200-pound person, okay, or you're in that same scenario. We'll just use a 200-pound person as a round number here, and you eat 300 grams of protein for the first time. You go to bed, you hear all the noises. It sounds like a whale call underwater. And you go to the gym the next day, and you feel terrible. Okay, does that necessarily mean that you just automatically drop it down? No. It doesn't mean you have to I don't want to go back on what I said earlier. It doesn't necessarily mean you have to just drop it down right away. Okay, but what it does mean is that you need to monitor it. And if your digestion, even after a few days, this is one thing I will say, if you notice digestive issues right off the bat, like right away, then you probably could slowly chip away at, knocking some of that protein back down to a more reasonable level for you. Okay, that is something your gut is going to react very quickly. Your gut will react faster than a lot of other parts of your body would. Okay, so your gut will tell you, and if you're having, explosive diarrhea, and you've eaten 300 grams of protein for the first time for 2 days, and you literally can't hold any of that food in, yeah, you probably either chose a really poor addition of protein, like the source, or your body literally is just spitting it out. It can't hold on to it. Okay, so you need to adjust. So again, I feel like I've said this 3 or 4 times in this video, and it's a crappy answer, but it's just so true. And it's just like when you're picking an exercise for training or a split or whatever, you gotta find what works for you, man. You got to. Okay, so if you have any questions about that or any opinions or any feedback, drop them down in the comments below. I'd love to help you out. I am starting to branch into the online coaching aspect, and I feel like the cliche thing is, well, any NPC competitor does that. Yeah, that's why I've been really low key about it. I've been really trying to be low key about it, to the point where right now I'm discounting a lot of my services because I just don't. I'll give people free advice on here as much as I can. You know, because I'm new to this. I'm new to this, and it's going to be a fun journey. But again, when I'll talk about that a little bit later on in my videos more as it gets more and more solidified with how I want to approach it, because I'm still a little lost on some of those aspects. But I just want to help people. I'm a teacher by nature. That's literally that's my 9 to 5. You know, I am a teacher. And so, you know, I want to teach both in the classroom and out. Again, it's one of the reasons I started this channel. So if you have any questions or feedback, please leave it below. I absolutely will respond, usually within, if I see it, I'll respond immediately. But if obviously I'm asleep or whatever, I'll respond to it as quickly as I can. But regardless, drop it down below. Let me know what you think. Let me know if you agree or disagree. You know, again, these are based on a lot of different, you know, a combination of both factual and real world application, you know, for me as far as protein intake goes. It takes time. It takes time to figure out what is going to work best for you for consistent growth and recovery and energy and performance and what have you. It can be complicating, but you just got to stay at it. That's the gist at the end of the day. So regardless, hopefully, if you do like the video, drop a like, share it, let them know that the Natty Teacher's back in session. We do have another good old push session tomorrow morning, so I'm excited for that. So I'm going to go up here and eat my last meal, and pretty much after that, just go to bed and go from there. So if you have not already, make sure you subscribe to the channel. It really does help the channel out. That's awesome, and I really appreciate you guys. Even if you don't, I appreciate you watching. You know, and come on back whenever you want. So for tonight, though, again, I'm gonna go eat. I'm hungry. I'm the Natty Teacher, and this rest day vlog, still a part of the Road to Natty Pro series, but the rest day edition is out. I will catch y'all in the morning.